Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my dear listeners. Welcome to episode number 7 of the Polarizer podcast. As you might have noticed, the last couple of episodes have been significantly higher in audio quality, and that's because these new interviews are recorded on higher end gear. So I figured I'd throw that in there. It's a nice little progress in the production of the show. Invested some good money into it, invested a lot of time into it to figure it all out. So I hope that's noticeable on your end, because I want you to enjoy the show as much as possible. And if you're interested in audio gear and recording gear and microphones and all that, I wrote a lengthy article about all the tools I use to make this podcast. You can find that in the podcast section of the website, thepolarizer.com. And by the way, keep subscribing to the show and keep telling your friends about it. It really helps getting the word out. I love making these, and the more listeners I have, the more I can make of these. So today I'm talking to Marnix. He's been my friend for pretty much my whole life. We know each other. We grew up in the same area, and he's a professional chef. And he started doing that very young. And before he was even 20, he worked in some restaurants that had Michelin stars, some of the best places in town. And he started his own catering business when he was 19 years old. And by the time he was 21, 22 or something, he had a successful business going with his own car, and he was making good money. And he was doing that while most of us in the friends group just barely got into college. So he was enjoying all this monetary success and career success. And then he decided to close down his business, sell everything he had, his car, all his stuff, and travel the world. And he traveled to Nepal, went through Singapore and Malaysia, lived in Australia for a little bit, worked there too. And then eventually ended up going to Papua New Guinea, where he joined a tribe. Actually, he lived in the middle of the jungle for a month with this tribe, and these people hadn't seen a Westerner in their entire life. So he really went off the beaten path, and he lived in this jungle with no electricity, no running water. And we have a lengthy conversation about what that experience was like. And we also talk about his travels through Nepal and the other places he went. And when he came back to the Netherlands, we all noticed that he was a very much changed person. He was very level-headed, extremely open-minded, and this trip really changed something big in him. And this is part 1 of a 2-part episode, because by the time we finished recording, we started talking about all other kinds of things that are episode worthy too. So in the next episode we will talk about many psychedelic drugs that he got into that also was a big part of his journey and what made him realize things and change his mind and attitude about a lot of things. And we also talk a lot about photography in that episode, because he's way into that too, and so am I. So we have a lot of technical talk about that. And that's basically part 2 that's coming in 2 weeks after this one. So I hope you enjoy it. It's an interesting, very free-form conversation. Marnix is an interesting guy, and if you like this episode, you will probably love the next one even more. So without further ado, here's Marnix. I hope you enjoy the show, guys.
Recorded someplace random on this interesting planet we live on, with your host, Dick Hube. You're listening to the Polarizer podcast.
All right, man.
Hello.
What's going on?
I'm fine, man.
Good. So a couple of years ago, you set off and started traveling the world. And you're back in the Netherlands now after, for a while now, but you were gone for a year and a half. Well, tell me your story. What was the reason? Like I remember you were running your own business.
At the time, yes, man. It was just before I went traveling. I was running a business for myself and working hard in that, and it became kind of a success. I mean, I could live from it for 3 years and doing my stuff, and that was fine. But at the moment, I was doing catering at that moment, catering business. So I learned cooking in Michelin stars restaurant.
Yeah, that's like really high end.
Yeah, that's pretty high end.
Get on the mic.
Yeah, closer to the mic. Hello. Yeah, that's really high end. I mean, the 7 courses, 9 courses, a lot of different meals, a lot of different textures. It becomes like painting with food. And so this is what I was doing for myself those days.
And give me an example of one of those recipes you made.
It's good to speak about food in terms of at that level. When we speak about food, it's good to speak about it in terms of different textures.
Okay.
Like with a fatty texture, for example, from a cream from some vegetable, parsnip or carrot or potato or whatever. That's the fatty texture of that cream, and you combine it with something crisp, something you fried, or some foam texture with garlic or some smoked stuff or burned stuff sometimes. Like butter, for example, you can burn to make beurre noisette. It's one of the only things you can actually burn to make it much nicer.
Okay.
So there's different things you can do to food, and because we are so wealthy now, we have so much of stuff. We have so many different kinds of vegetables we can eat, or meats, or anything. You can use those elements as colors on your pencil board.
Right. Okay. Cool. That's being very poetic about it.
Yeah. It comes with the act, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and but you also did things with like what's it called? The stuff that's like
liquid nitrogen.
Liquid nitrogen. Yeah.
Liquid nitrogen is pretty badass, man. I mean, you can add it to a certain texture. For example, liquid, a juice from orange with some liquor in there. Just as a base, it will be on room temperature, and you add the liquid nitrogen, and you start stirring around, and the smoke comes off and shit, because the liquid nitrogen is minus 196 degrees
Celsius.
When it's Celsius.
Yeah.
When it's liquid. So like that, you can make quickly like a sorbet of these elements.
It's also pretty dangerous, right? If you.
No, it's cool. It's all right.
Yeah.
Like what it does when it touches your body or a hotter surface, it starts to become a gas.
Oh yeah, because it heats up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it doesn't burn into you. It
bounces
it
off.
Bounces off you. Yeah. Like oil, for example, would be doing something differently. That would like stick into your stuff and burn
Right.
in. So it's a bit less dangerous than working with oil in that sense. Yeah.
All right. So you were doing that. Like how old were you at the time when you were doing that?
21.
21.
I started doing that.
And you had your own business by the time you were.
No, this was 21.
When you were 21,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's quite an achievement for being so young.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people told me.
Yeah.
I don't know what's true. Like for me, it was an obvious thing to do because
Right.
I learned cooking in those Michelin star restaurants. I was doing my thing, and I wanted to do it for myself. Just maybe I was ready for it. I don't know. I was inspired to do that.
All right.
And that's
Hey, you made it work. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. And then back to traveling.
And then,
because,
hold on. And then like you were doing that for 3 years, and then all of a sudden, like, well,
I decided to quit.
Right.
Yeah. That seems to be a really sudden.
That's an interesting move.
Yeah.
Especially
right.
when things are going well.
Mm-hmm.
Like why? Like where did that come from?
Mm-hmm. There were different things, like things in my personal life, but also I was not always agreeing with what I was doing as an entrepreneur.
Right.
And I felt a bit of this ethical discussion inside myself, which made me doubt what I was doing was something good, to leave a good footprint, you know.
Okay.
So when I started, I thought like, yeah, this is what's being successful, and people always told me this. This is when you're doing it well, and everybody should be happy. But inside me, I was feeling this kind of discussion between
what like did it feel wrong in a way, but like where, like why?
Yeah, like doubtful.
Why?
I will give you an example. Like when I was, I had a catering for 12 people. They paid a lot of money for that, like €2,000, something like that. And I bought in foods, and I felt like the bigger story I could tell about these foods, the bigger the experience became. And it's like, it almost feels like the success is the air within a bag of chips, you know?
Okay.
Like
That's
you add a lot
interesting.
of stuff to it, yeah. So now, and then I decided to do that. I just got an idea. Like I'm an impulsive guy as well.
Right.
So that also when I was being entrepreneuring, I had lots of different ideas and being involved in stuff, and then in my mind suddenly comes this idea like, hey, why not take the time to explore a bit, to take some steps back, to take some distance, to maybe give space to whatever is inside there, what might want to pop up.
Okay. And then you sold your car. You quit the business, and then where did you go?
I left off with my backpack to Nepal.
Nepal.
With just a one-way ticket. So I didn't know what was coming, and that was the experience. Like that was the adventure, to just jump in there, and then see what comes.
What did you
with it and
take with you in your backpack? Just some clothes?
yeah, man, and a camera.
Yeah.
That's where that started, man. That's where that started. So maybe straight from the first day, when I landed in Nepal, I got into this. You know, you come outside of the airport in Nepal, in Kathmandu, capital city, and suddenly around you there's 10 of these cab drivers, like
pulling at you,
and screaming, "Yeah, come with me, I'm very nice." And then, yeah, well, and there's all of them. And I came there with actually no idea. In my head, I was like, okay, I come outside of the airport and just gonna find a bench to sit for 10 minutes and let the environment soak it up. So, but I didn't have the chance for that. Because all these cab drivers were there. And then I went with one to, because at some point there was some guy who actually was kind of nice, and he helped me a bit, and he drove me somewhere. And then it starts. But from that moment, you ask me what's in your bag, I had that camera. I bought, like, before traveling, a camera, which I would like because I always had some inspiration for making pieces, taking pieces of the world as a photograph, like taking pieces of the environment. And then that started, man. Then
the photography, yeah.
Yes, man. Yeah.
But did you did the cab driver just take you somewhere, or did you know where you wanted to go, or?
Kind of. I didn't know much. I know that was like Tamil is like the part of the city where the most of the tourists are or something. So it was kind of a safe bet at the moment.
Right. Yeah.
So he would take me and I find some hotel there.
That's all right. Yeah. I mean, right. So you were there, and you were just like walking the streets there, and you know, like were you staying in hostels or?
Yeah, man, that kind of stuff. And at some point also with a Nepalese family I met there.
I remember at one point you went to a little town somewhere.
Yeah.
And
oh, sorry, man. Trying to drink some water over here. And I touched some kind of thing.
Yeah, you did. Let's see. Test.
But you're a genius in this, man. You can make this work. For sure.
Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah, you hit my volume.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, at one point you ended up moving to a town somewhere or a city, and
yes.
you lived there for 6 months or something.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
It was like the longest possible extent of the tourist visa there.
Okay, and but from what I understand, it was very quiet, like small place and not touristy at all, right? And,
yes, that's true.
And how did you end up there?
Now, this is the interesting thing. What I find interesting when I'm traveling, like the first area you arrive when you're traveling is mostly some airport or some big city or something. And these days, those big cities, they look like each other more and more and more. You find the H&M and the McDonald's everywhere.
Yeah.
So
like all big cities are kind of the same.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
they're a little different, but
for
you know.
sure. But
Yeah,
you know where I'm going. So if you want to see some deeper and older culture, you have to go outside of the big cities. And the deeper you go to some fucking farm area or somewhere out there, the deeper you can see those old traditions and the old people moving in their slow habits and happy habits, and that's inspiring me. That's inspiring.
Well, when I remember when you came back, you were very like spiritual. Like, you know, you came back a very different kind of guy, and back then you kind of told us like, yeah, you know, like I realized so much when I was there in you know, in the mountains and living there.
Yeah.
Like, can you give an example of what kind of realizations you found there? And then, you
That's
know.
a nice question. A big one as well. I mean, there's when I look to these people now from where I am here again, I see these people.
We are in the Netherlands, by the way,
Yes.
sitting in a nice park next to the water. It's it's a nice day.
Yeah, having a little picnic here.
Yeah.
So these people, they live a very clean life in a sense. They're doing what their parents were doing, and they're doing and they do what their parents did. But they take from nature everything what grows. They grow their own rice and their own millet and their own vegetables, and they have the chicken. There's really this kind of life. And in a sense, when I arrived there and lived with them, it was a bit like time traveling. I mean, everything goes differently and slower, like on a movie. But I saw something else in the people as well, and that's a certain happiness. The people were very content, man.
Even though they didn't have a whole lot compared to what we have.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely.
And yet they were very happy.
And I see when you walk on the streets, or there's a more rushy, closed kind of mentality.
Right.
And that's a different I saw, and wow, that's inspiring. And you know, my background is food, and I like to know about the health of food as well. And when you look to old diets, the old diets were able to feed the people in such a healthy way. Their bodies were so strong, their teeth, their bones, the physicality.
Right.
No. So and those things are inspiring, man. And you can still see these spots. You go to a place and move out of the big city, and then move out of the big city, and then move out of the big city, and then move out of the big city, until you find like the old people or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, makes sense. The further you go inland, the further you go away from touristy places, the more genuine it gets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it becomes like a university. And it's not some holiday you have in a resort, you know, with the swimming pool and the same drinks in the bar you can find at home. But then you're like dropping yourself out there also to, not just to see it, but also to cooperate with it. I mean, you're in the middle of it. You have to interact with it. And this way you learn much about yourself as well, and about what we are as people. I mean, all the things you can see from it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a life university.
Yes, man.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. and after so you were staying there. You were staying there with a family.
Mm-hmm.
Like
in Nepal, yeah.
How were you literally a part of the family there?
Well, like in the theme of it is that I like the back in the nature life.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Papua New Guinea afterwards.
Right after Nepal?
I've been working in Australia for a couple of months, and then I went to Papua New Guinea.
All right, so let's follow the timeline. So after Nepal, you went to Australia?
Well, with some stops in Malaysia and Singapore, but not really relevant.
Well, did you spend some time in those cities as well?
Yes, man. I've been going around that photographing. I met an old friend, and then I went back to Australia.
Singapore and Malaysia. What are those cities like? Can you compare them with anything? Or
Singapore is impressive, man. Singapore is impressive. Singapore is an island, and it's completely filled with buildings, so nothing grows there. There's no there's no potato fields or no cows or no shit. It's just streets, and everything comes there with chips, and the place is very, very regulated. You get amazing high tickets for walking through red light or being throwing trash on the ground. It's very fucking clean, and everybody's just walking and marching in the same pattern.
Yeah.
So that's Singapore, but the natural aspect of it, like if you're able to become a part of the family when you are somewhere. The Papua New Guinean people, they had an answer to this, man.
All right, right. We'll get to that in a sec. But,
okay.
All right. Then you went to Malaysia. Yeah. Well, what's that like? I've never been there.
Malaysia. Well, I was in Kuala Lumpur because I needed to do some chest scan. When you like Australia has a really strict border protection, so when you come from a country which is called like a risk country or something, you have to do a chest scan to see if you don't have any, I don't know what's called, tuberculosis or anything inside.
So some weird disease.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
that they don't want to have inside the country.
Yeah.
So I needed, and they couldn't do that in Nepal anymore. So that's why I went to Kuala Lumpur to go to a hospital and do that. Yeah.
Now, how much time did you spend in there?
Like Malaysia and Singapore together, like a month or a month and a half.
That's
just
pretty long, actually.
Yeah, I had to wait for the hospital thing.
Okay, so it's
but that's fine. Yeah.
Kuala Lumpur is a fun city, or
man, if you like food, Kuala Lumpur is fucking amazing, man.
Really?
Yes, there's so much food on the streets. That's like a different culture. Here we go inside in the place and be on the table and eat. But there people are eating the whole day, walking on the streets.
On the streets.
And just eating small things or going somewhere. And the whole day you can find street food there.
Right. What kind of vibe does the city have? Is it like a modern, or is it just kind of, you know?
Yeah, it's modern. It's really modern.
It clean?
No, it's not really clean. Though.
Okay, so it's kind of like I don't know, like probably like Bangkok or something, or
possible. I've not been to Bangkok, but I can imagine. Imagine.
All right. It's tropical there too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's nice with all the meat on the street.
Rats and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but so street food is like barbecues or fruit or.
They do a lot of stuff, man. They cook, boil rice, make dishes, fry stuff. Yeah.
And the locals probably eat it too, right?
Yeah,
it's
man.
like people don't really cook themselves,
less,
I guess. Yeah.
Unless you have a family or something. So it's
right. Yeah. No, it's an interesting culture how it works.
Definitely.
Yeah. And
different focus.
Really cheap too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can just do it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
For us, especially.
All right. So then you went to Australia. Mm-hmm. Melbourne, was it right?
Yes, man. Yes, Melbourne.
Yeah, and you have a lot of love for Melbourne.
Well, like, I think the love you have seen is all the photographs I made there.
Right.
Most of them, yeah, because that was the moment I was away for 6 months already, 7. And then I started to move with the camera more and more. And in Melbourne, I was able to shoot a lot on the street. And there was lots of different lights there. Lights coming, shadows, different buildings, moving stuff with long exposure time. I loved it, man.
All right. So Nepal was kind of your spiritual university part. Mm-hmm. And then you had, let's see, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. That's probably just kind of transition period.
Big time.
And then you come in Australia where you have your photography school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You can design your own university if you just follow what you feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but it's like if you look back on stuff like that, you can kind of just put it in boxes like that, and like in hindsight, it's always you realize that in that period, I just developed this part of myself, you know, and then you even though you didn't realize it at the time, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So because like our reality at the moment, that's where I am right now as well. Like I'm not sure. 1 year from now or 2 years from now, how I will judge this period, as in what kind of university I was at the time.
Right.
So also the knowledge about our universities is what's developing in age.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, that's some deep shit, man.
Yeah, we're in the park now.
We're going down the rabbit hole. Yeah, okay. Melbourne. That's I personally haven't been there, but anyone who's been there has says it's one of the coolest cities, and
Right, yeah.
lots of parks, right?
Yes,
It's and Australia in general is just awesome. But
Very relaxed.
yeah, very laid back. Very laid back.
You could do that, yeah. Yeah, man. That's in there. One of those things I learned, if you ask me, because there's much more things I didn't learn than I learned. But you asked me this question, so I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
So one of the things I learned, I came in Melbourne, and I arrived, and I needed to do there 2 things. The first thing was I need to find work, because I ran out of money.
You had a work visa too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm.
All right, so you completely ran out of money,
Yes, man.
and then you, when you just arrived in Melbourne, one of the most expensive cities in the world.
Just to try to cling on the big train again, so you can earn some big money quickly in a few months.
That's a good way to. That's a good way of putting it.
I smuggled cigarettes inside the country, like in my backpack, like 40 packages or something.
Really?
And you can just. And I didn't know that a friend tipped me, and you can buy them for $2 in Malaysia, and I could sell them for $10 in Australia. That's how I lived. That was my first week of
The
living.
international cigarette smuggler.
Just once.
But and because a pack of cigarettes in Australia is like $25.
Yeah, fuck me, I'm
Yeah.
20 something.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even like if you go there and you're able to wash plates, wash dishes in the restaurants, you earn $25 an hour.
Yeah, wash
So,
dishes,
wash-
$25 an hour. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Different stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I needed to do 2 things there. One was the work, and I know like my luck is that I have a good resume in cooking, so I could easily find a restaurant there which would like to work with me, and then I could afford myself a place there and a bike and everything.
Yeah, that's a good thing too. If you want to, have kind of like a nomad life or adventure traveling around kind of life, it helps if you have a profession that can work anywhere. Like
That helps definitely, man.
like if you're a good cook, a good chef, like it doesn't even even necessarily have to speak the language very well.
No.
As long as you're just good at what you're doing. Yeah.
And it's a nice way to interact with the people as well. Like the moment you meet somebody and the moment you start making food with this person and eat it together, that's a nice friendship.
That's
It's
true.
not to eat with somebody together, man.
That is, yeah. That's actually like eating together with someone is kind of like a big deal, even though. No,
we don't realize it much or something.
What's that?
I think I didn't realize that much before. Like when I looked like to the family life as well. We had the tradition that at nighttime, the dinner we always did together.
Get the
with
family together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the inside time.
Yeah, it's something that's been a part of us forever. It's kind of the same as you don't really know anyone until you gotten drunk with them.
It's true.
True.
It's true.
Like that's kind of similar, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. You break through it, then you cannot.
Like the filters are gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
Your consciousness doesn't work anymore. You lost control.
And especially if funny things happened, or like while you were both inebriated, that's also kind of that cements things in a way.
Sorry, what's that?
Like, man, maybe I'm just rambling and shit, but if you're just you get drunk with someone and something funny happens, that I don't know.
Yeah. You have that memory together.
Yeah. I'm just I don't know, man.
Nice.
Yeah, man, just laid back. It's all good. But so where did you end up working there, in a restaurant or?
Yes, man. I worked in the most French restaurant I ever worked in my life.
Really?
So in some big hotel in Melbourne, and with the team, with lots of international people a lot of people working there as a traveler like me, as myself as well, but also a really good, inspiring chef where I really like to work with. I learned a lot from him as well, technically, food-wise. So that was in that sense, also a cool experience. To just jump in that life again. Hard working, man. Having these services. It was a big restaurant. We did like 25 people, 250 people on a busy night.
Well,
and in different stations and trying to...
Yeah,
it's like
you gotta have
matches.
You gotta have a well-oiled machine to pull it off.
Yes, definitely. And the game is to make that machine function well. So to know your stocks and know where to put what, to make like a nice station for yourself to work and to really defeat yourself from these tickets coming out of the printer.
Oh yeah.
And then it becomes a game as well, because it's really fun too. It's hard work, but it's fun too. Really try to nail it.
Yeah, I can imagine that, man. Like, I worked a lot in hospitality too during my travels, but mostly as a bartender.
Yeah, man, that's cool too.
Yeah, but like the last job I had was this big. It was like a big building with 3 bars in it, 3 floors, and the second floor also was like a fusion restaurant and a whiskey bar. It was crazy fancy, and but the kitchen was was in the basement, and every now and then I'd have to go there to grab some supplies for the bar, and it was kind of cool. Like those orders just came out of the printer, and then they put it in a little elevator, and it goes through the building, and it's
you have to push on.
Yeah, and it was like high speed, high stress, and it's kind of it's cool. It's a good.
You become an adrenaline junkie, man.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's hard. It's fucking hard work. But it's also it's never boring. You know,
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. For me, it gets now maybe a bit in some senses, but yeah.
Well, I mean, like, every job isn't always fun all the time, obviously. But yeah, it's and most of the people working there were. Everyone was from all over the place, like some Italians, some Scottish people, and
yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah, I was the only Dutchie there, representing.
Yeah. You become the Dutchie.
Yeah,
you become the Dutchie.
Clog wearing cans.
But I'm actually pretty happy that. I mean, it's hard work. It's physical work, so it costs energy too. But I'm actually quite happy that I'm able to do a job where I can move my body,
right?
Instead of sitting on a chair the whole day and not moving much. Yeah. So that's why I'm happy about. I like to be fit.
Yeah. It makes it's the one thing that affects every single aspect of what you do and how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's
move the body.
All right, and then after Melbourne, you went where and why?
So in Melbourne, this is the moment I learned that when you arrive somewhere, that what your intention is, that can come to you pretty quickly. So in Melbourne, like I said, I had these 2 things. We were still at one. The first thing was the work, and I was able to do that myself easily, because I didn't need anybody else for me to arrange that. I would just go to the restaurant, call them, leave my resume, and speak to the people. And then at some point, something would picked up, and I get my work. So that was no problem. The thing I said to the people when they asked me, "Oh, you came to Melbourne, welcome, man. Why did you came here?" Then I answered them with, "Oh, I came for the music, because in Melbourne that's a really artistic city." And a lot of live music, a lot of musicians, a lot of people playing.
That's cool.
And that was at the moment I started playing much more in Nepal as well. And I just wanted to follow that path, man. The music that attracted me then.
Yeah, so, because you're also a drummer.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So, yeah. So, you had that skill with you too.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good skill to have when you're traveling, be able to play an instrument.
Yeah, for your own... your landing zone.
Right.
The moment that you can play for yourself and find things, find the music, create the harmony. That's a cool thing.
Guitar is a good instrument because you can take it everywhere.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Yeah.
It's also good when you want to get laid.
For sure. And just after you got laid, that's also very cool.
Or while you're getting laid.
Here we
I don't know what you're into, man.
Well, I have a guitar with me.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
No, now we're getting weird. All right. You were so you started playing in a band too while you were there?
Yeah, that was the funny thing. So I said I came for the music. I landed in a hostel, and people asked me what I came to do, and I said, I come to play music. And within 2 weeks, I had 2 bands. And that was fucking cool. I met the guitarist, Amin, from Belgium. We became really good friends in the hostel there. And then a few days later, we met 2 other guys, another guitarist and an Italian singer, Matteo. And we just played a lot there. And then this guy from Serbia came and was a fucking DJ.
Okay.
So together with Amin, the guitarist, we became a trio as well, making music with electronics, so his DJ stuff and tracks, and Amin playing guitar, me playing on drums and percussion. And that was like a dream, man. That happened so quickly. And I saw the connection with the fact that I was being so straight about it when I arrived. When people ask me, what do you come to do? I said, I come to make music. And in the nunnery, like the hostel, I met them very quickly. And we started playing there a lot.
That's cool.
And then, so the question was, we go to, what did you do after Australia? Where did you move? We had a plan with that trio, the DJ, the guitarist and me, to continue this practice of music together in a different location. So we decided to move to Europe. The guitarist, Amin, he was from Brussels, and I would go home after 1.5 years of traveling, and then we would stay there and be there together. To end this story, the guy from Brussels, he fell in love and moved to Paris with his love. It's beautiful love, and the guy from Sergian, he got some skin diseases when he was back to try to find some work. And so this plan collapsed, but inside me there was still this feeling of doing music. Yeah. So yeah, you just hop on and hop off in projects in life. And some succeed, or some will get far, and some are just plans.
Right, yeah.
But we had a lot of fun there, man. Making the music.
That's cool.
So after Australia, I decided, okay, I'm going home. But I felt like there's one more thing I needed to catch from this trip. You know, I could go home after Australia. Australia was like, I was working there, big city, Western life. But I wanted to jump a bit deeper again in the nature. And then I choose Papua New Guinea. That's an island above Australia, small island. And that was the jungle life, man. That's a beautiful place.
It's a straight up third world country, though, right?
Yeah, that's true, man.
Yeah.
And it's not safe, really.
Yeah, because I remember you telling a story when you landed on the airport. Like someone walked up to you and he was like, "Hey man, what are you doing here?"
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you used kind of in a way like why? and then he kind of took you with him, and he kind of took care of you.
That's true, man.
But tell that story in detail because I'm paraphrasing. So.
Yeah. Oh, but you got a lot of it. I mean, that was really funny. I was in the airplane from Melbourne. I had my last night in Melbourne. I slept with a beautiful woman in a big hotel room on top of a building. That was the last romantic goodbye to the city of Melbourne.
And that's the best way to
end it with a boom.
Yeah,
and then I took that morning very early. I went with the airplane to Cairns up in Australia, and then to Papua New Guinea, the capital city, Port Moresby, and I was in the second flight, and I was hangover and smelling like, I don't know.
Oh, you were that guy.
And then a guy a few rows in front of me, he was turning around to me and smiling to me all the time. And while he was opening his third beer, because you can drink beer in the airplane in Melbourne or in Australia, he started speaking to me. And he said, "Hey, man, what are you doing? Like, it's very hot up there." And then I looked down and I realized that I was wearing some kind of hot sweater, which was not suited for tropical weather. So he could understand very well that I was not really knowing what I was doing. And so I started speaking with him, and he turned out to be an Australian military guy from the Marines. So it's from the water elements. And he was living the expat life over there. He had an apartment which was like around fences everywhere and guards in the front. And I didn't know it was that extreme, because this is what they do, and they seem to find necessary to protect the white people there in a city like Port Moresby. So that was pretty serious.
So they're like in a like a gated complex with private security.
Compound, they call that.
Compound, yeah. There's like machine gun towers too? Or
no. Okay. And there's a way to understand it, but there we speak later about it.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, I was walking there with all my... I took so many instruments from Australia, which I bought over the time that I was playing there. Like a cajon and a lot of cymbals and a snare drum, a whole fucking 14-inch snare drum. All in my suitcases and stuff. So, and my plan was to just go and walk through the city with all that stuff. And so this military guy...
Doesn't really sound like a plan.
Yeah, have a bit of shit. Like, just throw yourself in there. And this guy, he found that as potentially dangerous. So then he said, "Man, you go with me, man. Come to my apartment. I have a spare room. You have your own bathroom, and you can stay there for a few nights. I've always wanted to do this, but I never came to this chance. So you came here, and I see you. Let's go to my home."
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
How long were you talking to him when you?
When he said that, like the flight was not very long, like 2 hours
like 3
or something.
2 hours, yeah.
And then, so he knew that he needed to decide very quickly, because otherwise I would just leave him and walk through the city. So
and probably get killed.
maybe, or maybe I didn't have all this stuff anymore. But yeah. Yeah, so he took care, and that was a very luxurious place with all nice bathrooms, and that's really movie-like, man. That's what I find cool. That's the traveling story. Like, you throw yourself somewhere and you end up on some fucking beautiful place in a beautiful bathroom while you were just prepared to walk into the jungle. These contrasts are interesting.
But that's the thing, like if you're a person who is easy to talk to, and if you're a sociable guy who just talks to people, and like that's such a huge thing to have. I mean, like if that's probably the best skill to make sure your travels are
to be
awesome.
social.
Yeah, I mean, and because I just because just talking to people and making friends. Like when I was in Australia, I was just shooting the shit with someone, and he had a huge sailboat, and during I don't know, it was a national holiday, and there was this air show with the military, doing flybys in F-18s, I think, and and it's, "Hey man, come with us on the boat and bring a couple of friends," and I sat there on this huge catamaran, just like a luxury yacht, just drinking beers with a bunch of people who I've met once before, but people,
you're just suddenly there in their life, in what they do, and you
see like there were boats there too with like chartered cruises, people who pay a lot of money to stand on a boat with 50 other people, and I was just here barbecuing on like a private vessel. And just because I, decided to talk to someone at one point.
It opens doors, man.
Yeah.
It opens doors.
Yeah. shake a hand, share a smile, and the
especially
world
as
becomes a little smaller.
Yes, man, that's very nice. That's very nice. Yeah, like you. There's a lot of people who really want to help. If you really need it, there's somebody with a jacket or who helps you find a way. Or there's so much people taking care. And if you find the comfort to just land yourself in that unknown world of trust, then you can find very cool travel stories.
Yeah, and most people are good people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always good to keep your wits about you. Don't do. Don't. But yeah, you always take a. Yeah,
Yeah. It's mostly our own fear which makes us judge our environment as dangerous or riskful.
Yeah, true. But there's some, there's fucked up people out there doing fucked up things.
For sure.
But of course, as long as you keep your wits about you, I mean, just talking to people and hanging out with people and taking people up on when they offer you something cool, Yeah, I mean, usually the right choice is to take it. Yeah. But you. So you were hanging out with this dude.
Yes, man, in his place, and he knew the country. He was a Marine, and he was teaching there a group of Papua New Guinean soldiers to be able to protect the borders and to learn the technical stuff about ships and language and science and to drive a boat and to take care. So I was then really seeing it from the protected viewpoint. Like he was living that expat life. He was being there protected and stuff, but I was still not satisfied. I needed to still had trust that there was some cooler world outside of that protection. If you again go out of the capital and try to go to find some jungle somewhere, and that's a process of. I decided to go to a small place, a town where I could go with the airport, and it was very slow. There was low season, so I lived then for a couple of days at this guest house, and then we speak over the system how Papua New Guineans create stuff. They do that through the family. They've always been working together as tribes, as brothers. Like the country. It's an island, and on that country there's 800 different tribes. They have their different language. It's insane, man. A different language, different culture, different gods, different habits, different part of the country as well. Some more in the hills, some more in the.
Get on my mic.
Yes.
Yes.
So and that's they've been fighting a lot against each other as well, and some are in peace and
tribe warfare.
Yeah. So the tribe is deep inside them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. The moment I was in that guest house, I saw that was one big family. And the word for family, I later understood that it was the word for tribe. So they were all related. They were all family. They were all one tribe. And since I was hanging with them, as just the only guy in the guest house there, they started to see me as one of them because we did grocery shopping at the same time and sitting, and they showed me around and they asked how I was, and I was part of them, was chilling with them, and then they saw me as one of them. And now that was the moment I got along with some Schmiegel-looking guy. He was really like he always had bad plans and knew ways how to find tobacco on the streets or weed or like to smoke something. And he was the interesting guy, but he was really like a Schmiegel, man. He really wanted to show me around.
Kind of like a scary. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you were befriending him.
This bad because he was very cool as well. Like I introduced him in like the most extreme maybe, but he had this brothership as well, like taking care of your brothers and doing stuff together. So with him, I decided to go from that guest house to the place, like the little town where that family originally came from.
Okay.
And they were still having family over there too. And what they call again family, they call tribe. And over there, I met a guy. He was more like a mayor or something. He took a bit care of the place. His English was pretty good too. And
how big was this town? Like how many people were there?
This group of house was the 2-3 families, and then 100 meters further again, all in gardens of coconut trees and banana trees and shit, ripe fruit dropping down.
But so this was literally like in the middle of the jungle.
Yes, man. Yeah. Definitely.
No roads. Did they have electricity down there, or
no?
So that was just some real like hunter and gatherer society there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, hunter and gatherer. This was more like taking care of the plants as well. So they had planted these coconut trees in a way that the coconuts would rain down in that area. So that was the harvest place of the coconuts.
Okay.
And the next day they took care of the place, so they could feed each other really, really richly from that.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you were walking in there, and then like what was the reaction? Like paint me a picture of like the first time you went there. Like, did you drive into a jungle? Did you walk, or?
Yeah. So the last jeep stopped, and we went out. So this is over a couple of days of traveling.
So you're first in a jeep for a couple of days.
Yeah, man. Because like then the next jeep goes the next day in the afternoon. So then you have to spend some time.
Wow. So, but were you traveling by yourself in these jeeps, or were there other tourists?
Not tourists, but local people moving themselves.
Okay.
They use that as moving and going to family, going to relatives too.
Okay. Huh. Yeah. That's interesting. So it's like a bus, but like smaller.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But the jeep only holds like. Well, it was one of those military ones where you sit in the back.
A bit more, like some small buses.
Okay. So that's like probably 8 people or something.
Yeah. But also some bigger cars. Yeah, man, that's cool. And because at some point I arrived at areas where the people that it was really rare for them to see a white person.
Right.
So as just who I was coming all the way to their area, I looked so much different that it became sometimes an attraction to come see me and shake hands with me.
So you were kind of like a novelty there.
Well, like a guest or something. They want to ask questions and know stories from where my home was and how the world looks here. And yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That became the interaction. And then, because when I came to that jungle, the place where I would sleep, I had an appointment with a guy. And that was the old guy, the mayor, like the English, the well-spoken guy. And he made me sleep at his house, and he said at some point, like, he called me son. He was speaking to me, and he called me, this is my son. And I looked up to him, and he could see my questing eyes. And then he explained, like, man, you're my son. I take care of you, because this is how it works in here as well. Like how you have people, how you have families, that's that your blood mother and your blood father are your parents. You call them mom and dad. And then the brothers and sisters of them, you call aunt. So in there, they call all of them papa or mama. And just one layer even more outside, they call auntie or nephew. So the related people, they just becomes a bigger group, and it gets a bit more blurry because at some point people don't know exactly what it is, and then they just say, okay, it's brother. But yeah, in there I could really, they lifted really me up in being part of the family, man.
Wow.
They introduced me as my son. When he introduced people to me, he said, this person you can call aunt, and this is hello, man. You can call him your brother too, because he's one of my sons as well.
Okay.
So it really became a thing, man.
Wow.
Brata. They have so many words for a guy. Oh, this has been a long time. They have so many nice words for a guy. Barata. You boy straight. That's all words to just say to a guy that he's nice. They have so many.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of them.
It's
Ori bata straight. So you're an original brother straight. That's the phonetic way of using the English language.
Yeah,
to speak.
I mean, because that sounds like English, sort of.
Ori bata straight.
All right, that's funny.
Yeah.
Huh. So yeah, you were in this tribe then, and what did you do? Like you're in the jungle. You have Eventually, you probably weren't able to take photos anymore because your batteries were empty.
No, yeah, I had some battery, man. I took a few to that place.
But I mean, like, what do you do in a place where you know?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. There were some things they found interesting for me to see in the first place. That was their interest. But for me, it really didn't matter. Like, in everything, there was a story. How they make a campfire, how they are able to build houses that well from just using stuff from trees and make perfect, beautifully straight-standing houses. How they learn from each other. That one guy is doing something and there's a few guys around him looking to what he's doing, like screwing a nail inside a piece of wood or whatever. And when it's getting hard for him or he's not able to do it well anymore, and another guy steps forward, grabs the screwdriver and start doing it slowly, the first man will just take a step back and look and have interest for how this guy is doing it so that he can do it better next time. And these things, man, I find so cool. There's this certain straight level of respect or something. When somebody's jumping in to change the situation, the other people trust that he's doing it for the greater good.
Huh, that's interesting.
And these things, man, these things with the nature people, there's a nice balance in there.
Huh. Yeah, so they focus on like the group instead of on the just better themselves.
On the individual, yeah, man.
Right.
It's a huge difference in how the people are and go through their day and do stuff.
So yeah, okay. So then they showed you around there.
Yeah.
And like, what did you see? What did they show you? Like, did you go hunting with them?
Yeah, those kind of stuff. As well, because we moved around. Like I said earlier, I've been walking barefoot a lot over there because everybody was walking barefoot. Barefoot was actually a nicer way to walk those paths which were made by foot of humans. So on shoes you would just slip. While if you could use your toes, you really can move gently through these steps. And then we went around, man. And I reacted to the place in a sense. Like, there was a lot of stuff I saw, but one of the things I saw was this not knowing of what changes they are bringing to their lives. Like, you asked me, did they have electricity? The answer was really no, but on the last days I was there, they started to be able to take batteries inside the jungle and use that to charge stuff. So with little, to connect it to a light or to a charger from a phone. But what did they do with the stuff which was not usable anymore, like the empty batteries? They would do the same thing as what they always did with the stuff which was not necessary anymore, like banana peels and coconut peels and whatever. They threw it inside the jungle. So, and that's a battery, man. And these days, man, it was so clean. We were washing ourselves in water, and from the same stream, you could drink, man. You could wash your face and drink the water and drink the water and drink the water because it was clean. It was clean water. So clean that the earth is that clean that you can really live close to it. And they didn't know or didn't see or didn't realize much that how they are now trying to live like us in a sense. Right. To have also electricity and also mobile cell phones, and that's harming their situation. That's really going to change over there. Right. Because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like China, you know, like they're just having this huge industrial revolution right now, but they just pollute so much and so badly that you know, like people are you know, people are getting sick from it. So they're you know, if you don't, it's kind of like a bigger version of don't shit where you eat.
Yeah. And if you end up with so many people on the planet, then there's a lot of shit. Then you cannot put it all under the carpet anymore.
Right. Yeah. So, how long did you stay with your jungle family?
In Papua New Guinea, I stayed with him for a month.
A month.
A month, yeah. But that was a really intense period. That went really quick.
Yeah, I believe you. I mean, did you how well were you able to communicate with them? Like
pretty well, man.
The English was good.
The English was pretty good. Cool.
Yeah,
and because they had the phonetic language of Tok Pishin, and that's literally translated talk of the birds, so language of the birds. And since they all are different tribes, 800 of them, and 800 different language they couldn't communicate well with each other when they wanted to start doing trades in history. So they invented some communal language, some overall language that every tribe could speak, and they called it Tok Pishin, which means talk of the birds, the language of the birds. So that language is a phonetic way of using the English language to be able to say really simple sentences.
Right, and it's probably pretty funny too, isn't it?
It's very funny.
Yeah.
It's very funny. You want an example?
Yeah.
An example, okay. So I might have a dry mouth. I'm drinking some water as well. So, one sec.
Yeah, I got some smacking on the recorder.
That's better. So they use the word belong from the English language belong to say where somebody comes from. So in that sense, it's the same. And they spell it as B-L-I-N-G. I'm saying it wrong. B-L-O-N-G. Blong.
Blong.
Blong. Blong. And then when they want to say I'm from there, they would just say me Blong and then the name of the place. And the word me is just M-I.
Me.
Me Blong. And then
That's kind of cool.
Me Blong Port Moresby. So communiceren ze, ja.
Me Blong Rotterdam.
Ja, precies. Precies. Dus dat is inderdaad grappig, man. That's very nice. I started speaking Dutch in the meanwhile, you see.
Yeah.
We're so into the story.
Yeah. Okay, so did you was it all fun? Was it all great? Oh yeah, hold on. I'm pretty sure, even though they didn't have much technology there, that the people there somehow figured out how to make booze. Because I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. Everyone somehow is able to make booze.
Yeah,
I mean, like in African tribes, they make liquor from honey.
Ferment anything with sweet you can
Yeah.
make into
Yeah, and it's yeah. So how do they party over there?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, man. Very good question. Because now that's a look into the culture. They had they used 3 different kind of items to get a certain high, which is like a caffeine. So it's the most important one is the betel nut, boa or boa something. The betel nut. That's a nut. It grows in the jungle. You have to chew on that. So break open the outside skin, and then take the inner part and chew on it, and that will be like bitter, sour kind of thing. Then there's 2 other ingredients. One is a dried caterpillar outside, which hangs. That's how it looks. Like it's a piece of the tree which hangs downside. And they take it off the tree when it's ripe, and they dried it, and that's like a stick. It becomes like a little stick where you can bite pieces off from. And then there's this 3rd component, and this is burned shells from the riverbank. And then they have the white shells, which are like 3-4 centimeters long. And then they burn them on a big fire, and they all crush them and make like a powder from that. And that's the 3rd ingredient, right?
Jesus.
So, and they all are doing that. So it's very, very cool.
And what does that get you if you?
So
They make coffee out of it, or do they snort it or something?
Listen, here it comes. I never saw this way of using drugs, man. I never saw that. So you put the dried seeds, like that vegetable thing. You put inside the white powder from the crushed shells, and you put it in between your cheeks while you're chewing on the betel nut.
Wow.
That's the sour thing. And then
sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And if you're doing it well, because there's a certain technique which comes with it, if you're doing it well and you use the right dose and the right amount, this becomes like a red kind of paste, which would just be we used to have this
chewing
tobacco.
Yeah.
Yes, man. So it just becomes a thing like that, and people can have it in their mouth for hours.
Wow!
And the high from it. So it's like drinking a few strong cups of coffee or something, but then really moderate and spread out. You can have that for hours. So this guy.
So you just feel really wired all the time.
Yeah, awake and.
Interesting. And I think I've seen pictures of people doing that, and it looks like they're some like vampires or something.
Yeah, man, they all become so fucking red, man.
Yeah,
they all have brown teeth, like really big parts of the teeth which are brown or completely black because of doing that, man. It's really. I have cool pictures from that too.
Damn, I'm pretty sure that's not healthy.
No, it's not.
But
so they fucking smoke tobacco. They dry tobacco, really, really, really high quality tobacco. We smoke there, and that's from the leaves from the jungle, and they dried it. They make it themselves, so they dried it perfectly to the amount of moisture that they like, and they make cigarettes from it. It's called Bruce.
Bruce.
Yes, man. That's the name of the tobacco. That's how they call it. And now what they use to roll the Bruce in is old newspapers. You don't believe it. You don't believe. It's really insane. I've tried it, of course, as well, because the people around me were doing it. And man, I couldn't get over the taste of burnt ink, man.
Yeah, ink.
What the fuck?
Burnt ink on bleached paper.
Yes. Wow. So I skipped that one.
Man.
Yeah.
So they have some of the best tobacco in the world, and they smoke it through old newspapers. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Huh. But like, what does that village look like? Is there like a village square? Is there like a bar somewhere, or one place where everyone hangs out, or? Yeah.
Well, there's on the website. There's a lot of pictures from this as well. And from the environment, how we live there, like how they built the houses, how they had grown their trees and used the place.
Yeah, speaking of website, like you're talking about your website, right?
Yeah.
What's on your website, and what can we find there, and how do we find it?
Nice. Well, the name of the website is Marnix Photography, and it's basically the.
Can you spell that?
Marnix, yeah, that's my name, and that's MARNIX, and then just photography.com, and the same thing on Facebook actually, also Marnix Photography, and that's basically the I go through the world and see the stuff, and sometimes I feel inspired to take pieces from the environment and make it into one framed thing, which we call a photograph, and to find attention when making this, find attention in the photograph in the moment, and so yeah.
Yeah, photography is great. I love it. I love taking, especially taking pictures of people. It's interesting.
How you like that? I'm less a people shooting guy.
Most of what I do is landscape, but usually pictures of people end up being the best ones, or at least the most interesting ones.
That's true, man. The human is a fucking interesting object.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but all right. So we can find those pictures on your website, and then you came back after Papua New Guinea, right? What was that like? Just being out of the jungle and back to home.
Yeah, man.
After having been away for a year and a half.
Yes. Coming back.
Yeah, like did you have a reverse culture shock?
Maybe in a sense, if that's how you call it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's actually
been
an official thing.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
a thing. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a thing now. Okay.
Yeah.
We can use the word. Say it again. What's the word?
Reverse culture shock.
Reversed culture
Yeah,
shock.
so
Here we go.
that's after you've been away from your own country for a long time, and if you experience something radically different, or for a long time, and you get back to normal, that messes with your head, and that's what it is. Reverse culture shock.
Right on. Just trying to fix some temperature controlling over here. Taking off my shirt. So, yeah, man, reverse culture shock. It's a thing. Well, of course this happens. I mean, I've been growing in a direction which my former environment didn't grow in, and then you meet each other again. So it's a fucking interesting time. You really see what's connecting and how people react on your experience, and that's an interesting one too.
Right.
Definitely. And then the life continues. So again, you have to go to the toilet. Again, you have to do some grocery shopping at the time and at some time. And again, you have to find a place to live.
Right.
And since we're having such amazing friends here in Rotterdam, that's really a blessing to just. I was just able to land back in the city. For the first 2 weeks I arrived here, I didn't have a place to sleep, but I met friend after friend after friend, and they all invite me to sleep in the house. So for the first 2 weeks I was just going from house to house and land in the nest of the brothers here back in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
And that was even the last guy where I lived half a year in this house you slept. The last night you slept in this house. I could sleep with him in his house for half a year, and that's really cool, man. We help each other a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot of trust for when you go away as well, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Mart he's like that, man. He's
definitely.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. So you just like moved in right away.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Can I sleep on your couch? Yeah, sure. And then it becomes 6 months.
Yeah. And in the meanwhile, you ask like, the first day you ask like, please, I don't have any plan. Tell me what's yours. And, oh no, I find it kind of nice. What do you want to eat or what do you want to drink? And you start having interaction, and it's all comfortable, and you take care of each other. We like cooking together, so we made nice dinners and stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's another lesson there. You cannot make new old friends.
That's the one of you, man.
Yeah.
That's I remember that. That's a Dick Hubei one. Yeah, man, you came back from traveling. I remember this. We were speaking at back in Rotterdam, and you say like I've met a lot of friends who turned friends after a while, and that was really cool. But I never met old friends.
Yeah,
like you really feel that's something else, man. You know each other so long and so well.
Yeah. That's good. Good stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our friends group is just cool as shit.
It helps me. Like I said, it helps me to have the trust in flying away again as well.
Right.
Like I feel backup. It doesn't matter,
There'll be someone taking care of you if something goes wrong, if you need it. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, we trust the interaction, man. You will do something back.
Yeah.
You create something cool for this to happen.
Right.
So, and that's the interaction.
Get on the mic.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah. I need to build a studio or something.
Where this thing moves with them. But maybe I'm just a really intense head mover.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Lying here on the carpet.
Man. You're an intense head mover. Oh, that's funny.
Finally, something to put on my business card.
Oh man. So man. So you're so you came back. I think it was about a year ago or so, right? 2 years. Two. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my sense of time is a little warped too because I've been away. I've been gone for a year and a half
Yeah,
too,
man,
and
as well, man.
so I missed pretty much everything that was going on here. So then like if I think back of like when you came back, like I'm just missing a year in time, Like, 2 years ago. Fuck.
Yeah.
Time flies, man.
Big time.
Yeah,
Big time.
that's what all the old people say.
Yeah, it's true, but it's true, man.
It's true.
And we're just here for a fucking blink of a second.
Yeah.
So you can, I mean, you don't have much control. Stuff is happening, you reacting to it. That's the whole ball game. So if you can get yourself in a mindset that you can sit down and watch the show,
Right.
that's the moment that a lot of comfort and a lot of ease will arrive in you.
Yeah, just take a step back.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Yeah, man.
Yeah, don't let yourself get sucked into, bullshit.
Yeah. Because everything is constantly changing and constantly evolving in each other. So it's going up and down for sure.
All right, so after you came back, then you just went back to work, and you did that for after you came back right away, right?
Yeah.
So you're working in a restaurant, you're doing your catering stuff. By the way, a restaurant that's also owned by a couple of people in our friends group.
That's a really cool project.
Yeah.
3 friends, like Joost, Peter and me, who really from our original friend group became now colleagues and doing a project like that in the city.
Yeah,
and it's
working out.
It's their business, man. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's working out. Well, you're a part of it too. It's
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, of the story for sure, and I'm really happy with it, but not of ownership.
Right. Well, maybe someday. I don't think you want that just yet.
No.
Because you've been here for a while. You saved some money, and now you have another big plan.
Yes, for sure, man. For sure, yeah. It is something which excites me at these weeks of my life. Yeah, there's another plan, man.
It's happening in 6 weeks, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's getting close.
Yeah, it's getting.
Should be exciting, man.
Yeah, big time, man. Big time. Like it's now that period that it starts to come. You start to realize, and slowly I was just taking care of the stuff I need to do. Like I said, I'm leaving with a lot of cool toys to play with.
Right.
Like
what's your plan, big picture? Like what are you gonna do?
In a few cents.
Yeah.
Well, like the concept of the whole trip is me going with a camper van and in the back some instruments and some photography equipment, and me just having time for that and being with it. So dive into that expression a bit more, and work a bit on farms, man. I found a really cool website, WWOOF.com or
WWOOFing,
something. But that's it. And they create a platform to create to get in contact with organic farmers. And they have a small profile picture there with a pic and a small description of what they do, what they grow, and in which months of the year they could use some help. And then you can go there, help them out, and by working on the farm, they offer you to stay there, so to live from their supplies, to drink, to eat, to be their guest, and that's for me a really cheap way to be able to extend this for a bit more time, so I have more time to really sink into an environment, like a small village in France, which I want to photograph. Like if I can be around that and move around that and bicycle around it, because I'm taking my bicycle as well with me to drive around the hills and with the camera, of course, then I can really sink into an environment and take time for the environment to create really something beautiful, with what really speaks to the eye.
Right.
So that's an important aspect of this trip, man.
So you're gonna travel, work on farms, take photos.
The concept.
That's
and
cool.
Take all those instruments. There's new instruments now, which I can take with me.
You got a guitar, you got a couple of congas, right?
Yeah, man, a cajon, a djembe. I take some parts of my drum kit too. So my bass room, snare room, hi-hat, some small setup. And I'm now, since half a year, able to make that electronic as well. So I have a microphone and then
Recording gear.
amplifier and recording gear and a good laptop. Now to really make the combination of me repeating myself, so creating a song. I have a pedal for that, which is called a loop station as well. So I can create layers on top of each other, where I can really just use myself to create some expression, to make different layers, to make a story go work, to use the imagination.
Yeah. So okay.
So that's
cool.
some two things. Like I said.
What's your route gonna be like? Like you're gonna start from Rotterdam, and which countries do you want to drive through?
Yeah. Like the Mediterranean, European countries. So France down to Spain. I want to be in the Pyrenees for a while, and then down to Portugal. Man, Portugal attracts me in a way. I think it's very beautiful and laid back and very rich in nature and culture. But so and then find beautiful places to stay and to photograph, and maybe if I find people to play with, then I can play music, and or work on my own stuff. So it's really, I feel inspired, man, these days. Like I've now been working here for 2 years again, and 1.5 years with Peter and Joost. That has been a cool time, but there's stuff inside me which I cannot put in this job, and I want to give some space. And that's more of the photography and more of the music. So now I feel a lot of inspiration for that, and I want to make that into a photograph or make that into a melody.
Right? Are you gonna like keep a diary or make a journal or write a book or keep a blog or something?
Yeah.
By the way, just put out your website out there again.
Yeah. It's marnixphotography.com. And on Facebook, it's the same, Marnix Photography. That's my name, Marnix.
Yeah, so
that's a pretty Dutch name.
Yeah,
I think it's a very Dutch name.
Very Dutch. Yeah.
So but the diary will be the photographs.
Okay.
I will not speak much in words.
Are you on Instagram or?
Instagram, I'm new to that, so I'm not sure how I will find the habit to be with another social platform again. But so that I'm not sure. But otherwise, if I will be there, it will be something like the same, Marnix Photography.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Google that and Instagram that.
Facebook is what I use basically.
Okay. All right. Okay. Are you gonna just stay in Europe mostly?
So for the first part, yes, to have this lifestyle, to be in this energy, to start working with these ideas. And new gear, because there's a lot of stuff. Then I'm thinking of making the jump to Africa as well.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'm thinking that, but I'm not sure because a lot of stuff will happen before I reach the most southern borders of Spain to take the boat. So I'm not sure what I will find and what will keeps me there, what will makes me go. But I think it's maybe kind of interesting to drive to Morocco as well,
right?
And make pictures and to be in a bit of a different culture again as well. But we'll see how we feel by then.
Apparently, there's good surfing there too.
Surfing,
yeah,
like on a wave.
Yeah, good waves.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. That's nice. I've never done that. Did you do that?
Oh yeah, in Australia, man. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Did you ever got like a wave that you stood and felt?
Oh yeah. I got pretty decent at it. Yeah.
Nice, right?
But it's really interesting. I can totally see why it's so addicting and why people just turn it into a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Hey, dog.
The dog is going to say hello.
Yeah. It's a public park, so
yeah,
that's a good dog.
Yeah, man. Fucking curly.
Sniffing
like
your
sheep.
stuff.
Sheep. Oh. It's like a pillow, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Dogs are so cool, man. They're the best animals.
Yeah.
They really earned man's best friend. But dude, surfing. Surfing. Yeah, because it's a constant challenge. It's never the same. You know, there's not a single method to like catch a wave, because every wave's different, and you know, sometimes you. And it's a workout too, man. Like your arms, if you just start out, your arms will
man.
oh yeah, like after 10, 15 minutes in the water, the first time you do it, your arms are burning, man. And
For sure.
yeah, like you gotta paddle out, and you know, and then there's
make speed, but the more speed you have, the bigger the chance you can fucking catch the thing.
Yeah, so you got to time it. The thing is, a lot of it is waiting. Actually, you're just sitting. You're just sitting on your surfboard, basically, and you're just reading the waves that are coming your way, and figuring out which one is a good one to try to catch. And sometimes it takes like 5 minutes before a good wave comes along, and then you have to decide, am I going to try to catch it? Because if you don't, like you gotta paddle like a maniac, and you know, so you use all your energy, and then if you're not fast enough and you don't catch it, it rolls under you, and you have to like paddle back out again. You know, so it's
to the good spot.
So you gotta. There's a lot of there's a lot of waiting, and that's also super important that you catch the right one. You know, so it's like meditating, and you're just sitting there looking at the waves, and there's, you know, and
feeling the water bringing you up and down.
Yeah,
like getting into the rhythm of the water, man.
Exactly, yeah, and it's insanely peaceful,
beautiful.
And you know, like after like surfing, it just doesn't ever bore me. I just get tired.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like you can do it as long as you're physically able to. You know, like it never bores you.
Cool.
And after you've done it, man, like it's just like. Yeah, if you ever surfed and you know you got decent at it, which you can learn it in a week, you know, if you really go for it, yeah, to just get good enough to have some fun.
Yeah.
And you once you've experienced what it's like, you really understand why there's a stereotype like, hey man, surfer dudes, like, yeah, dude, it's so good, and because those guys are just, I mean, it just every time you get out of the ocean, you just feel completely balanced. You know, like you find your center, and it's like Zen mode, extreme. Yeah. It's awesome, and it's an adrenaline rush too. Like once you catch that wave, finally, and you feel
there.
Yeah, you stand there and you feel the acceleration, and you can feel
pushing
like the power of the wave too, because there's so much energy in there. You know, like it's and you're just like riding on it, like this. It's awesome. It's some of the best feelings in the world, man.
I can imagine.
Surfing is great. I miss it since I've been back. It's But,
it makes you chill.
Yeah,
it makes you a chill dude.
Yeah. Well, but if you're like close with nature, like that calms you down. It's good for you. They even did research on that. I'll see if I can find it, put it in the show notes. But if you walk around in a park for like 15 or for like 30 or 40 minutes, when you're surrounded by trees and fresh air and all that, you actually your brain neurons start firing differently, and you get like less stress hormones and stuff. Like it's good for you, and you know that also explains why people in cities are just stressed out. You know, they're just in a concrete jungle, and it's like, you know, we're just far from nature, man. Far from nature, dude.
Yeah, but it feels good, yeah.
But it's
like the sight of stuff what grows on itself. Like I don't touch it, I don't need to give it anything, and it's also growing and moving tomorrow. It's different, and interaction, fresh air, stuff feeding each other. Like the shit from the birds become the ground where the grass grows from, and the rain. Like it's all like a closed circle connection. That makes me makes me stronger as well. Every time I'm in there.
Right.
So that's also with the travel. Like I really choose to be in that environment as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's personal for everyone, but
Definitely.
Like one of the when I go travel, I just always want to get out the city as quickly as I can, really, unless I'm visiting like a really awesome city like Tokyo or New York City or something. But
because cities are still beautiful.
Yeah, they're
That's
cool
just,
for different. Yeah, they're also really cool for different reasons.
Yes, man.
But
yeah. But hectic.
High energy, high stress.
Yeah. The feeling that you need to grab, like to work to make your life work or something. It doesn't flow. You would need to. You have deadlines, stuff coming, appointments, high pace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so you're gonna. Do you have any idea how long you're gonna travel around, or are you just gonna do whatever?
Basically, just leave. I'm thinking I'm saying something like the same as I said with my previous travel. When the people ask me how long I was going to be away, because that's a common question to hear, I usually said, well, I don't have other plans. Let's say that I go for minimal a year, just to know that that's really far away, that I cannot imagine.
Yeah, a year sounds so big, right?
Yeah, a year is very, I cannot plan what I do next year.
But it goes by so fast.
Yeah, that's true, man, that's true.
Yeah.
A blink of an eye. So again, sit back and watch the show. It's very cool. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening. If you just be able to look around and observe the world. Like when you're in the tram going to work, you can be on your cell phone and swipe through the same stuff you see every day. Or you can see how the world around looks you, which maybe can surprise you in a sense. How just people are. How just people sit, how they just move, how they just interact. Like the moment you start to be able to observe, just to observe without questioning or without judging or anything, just see it. Then a lot of stuff becomes interesting to observe.
True, very true.
Very cool, man.
I think, like the cell phones and everything. I think it makes people miss out on a lot of really cool, interesting, ugly, beautiful things that just happen around them all the time. You know, it's just, I don't know. I just like watching people. It's just interesting to watch. Right. It's fun to watch. Yeah.
And it doesn't say that if you're not using a cell phone, that you're not being mindful, because this was where we were speaking of. Just be able to be in it without just to see it. And it doesn't mean that when you don't have a phone, you're always being mindful, but just a thing to learn. It's such a fucking cool skill to be able to live your life, and time after time after time you go back to just what it is,
right?
And not what you think it is, or what
what do you think it should be,
is, or how I think it should be or should not, or whatever. I can just sink into what actually is, and
just be in the moment.
And then over there, it turns out to be pretty okay.
Yeah,
it becomes pretty okay.
Yeah. All right. So you're going to be gone for at least a year again.
Let's say that. Let's say that. I don't have other plans. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I change my camper van at some point for some Portuguese farm. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens.
That's cool, man. That's that's adventure shit, man. That's awesome.
It makes me excited, and because a lot of stuff can happen. Of stuff can happen.
Who knows, man? Do you have an idea what you want to do with I know you're like a really good chef, with a lot of accolades and.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit. That's also the food critics' opinion. It's you don't get to work in the place you worked at if you're. You got to be good, man. That's so. I mean, we know you're good at that. Your photography is a big thing for you. Music is a big thing for you. Do you have any idea, like which way you want to go?
At the moment, it depends on the project. So my last project was...
This is your dream to be like a photographer or like a rock star or whatever?
I don't live much following how I want it to be. I feel inspired to make photographs by time, and this is the moment that I go out and take my camera and shoot the city and shoot what's moving and everything. And there are many moments as well that I'm home and inspired to play the music. And for what I can judge in my life from my past, when a project starts, so you meet a person, could be in music or in photography or in anything. You meet this person and together you make plans and you start to do something serious, and then that's a project. So now I've been doing this restaurant project again. I mean, cooking is my profession. I can really be in a kitchen. That's really a comfortable environment for me. I know a lot of things of that. And I'm interesting to see what will happen if I'm doing this project with more of these other 3 ways of expression. So, in other words, we're more with photography or more with music. And we'll see.
In other words, just see whatever happens.
Yeah. And check the website. I mean, I'm going to start shooting the moment I leave. So.
That's cool. Yeah. Nice. All right, I always end with like 2 questions. One is what's the craziest, wildest, funniest story you've encountered in your travels where you're like, holy shit, that just ended just well, or I could have died, or whatever? Or did you have like a moment that was just, mind blowing? Or
well, like I really like romance as well.
Okay, yeah, of course.
I like the intensity of a woman's body close to mine, especially when there's love interaction going on. I mean, the sensitivity of the skin and hands and movements and breathing and sounds. It's like a movie. It's like a dream.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's the best.
And my last night in Melbourne, like I told you, I was able to live one night with my wife for one night because we came there in the hotel room. We had everything arranged for ourselves, and I mean everything. And we could stay there for one night in one of the most expensive, in the top building, a suite,
like
a big
penthouse. Holy shit!
On top of a hotel there, and drink champagne and go wild together and jump on each other and go with the night. Really, like surfing. And then the next morning, I walked out of the hotel, and I was gonna take a cab at 5 a.m. to take me to the airport, and I didn't sleep that night, and then through my body, I felt like a lot of rock and roll satisfaction. That was rude. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Like this, I think everybody has a part of him which just want to be badass in a sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't hear me like this very often, but that was my moment. I mean, yeah.
Oh, dude, that's the best punchline to a story I ever heard. It was like this really deep story, and the conclusion is like, yeah, that was pretty fucking cool. All right, and
but that's great, man.
Yeah, that's great. And did you never get into a situation where like something really scary happened or something? And when you were in Papua New Guinea, were you ever like really intimidated by something or something? Or
not really in an extremely aggressive way, but it was a bit dodgy everywhere. There was at some point I was having a conversation about buying a diamond of $1 million. It was a really serious conversation with a guy standing straight in front of me and 2 guys standing like at 11 and at 1 o'clock.
You're right.
And he was speaking about, you just need to pay this part and I have that part, and then he, what the fuck?
Trying to sell you a blood diamond.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah. So, and that was pretty, because I know there's Papua New Guinea, there's a lot of minerals in the ground, because it's a really rich nature. So the sunlight, there's a lot of coral reef. It's very colorful, all the flowers, and So there's a lot of minerals landing on that piece of the earth. And you can see that in the ground as well, because there's magnesium and gold and even diamonds, man, in the ground of Papua New Guinea. So and that's really worth a lot of money in the world. So there's also people like smuggling this, and since there's a lot of money, there's a lot of weapons because they can now buy weapons and stuff. So it was a bit dodgy in that sense, and I had to be careful. But I landed there, and at some point, it's like a system. There's a new culture going on, so also different rules. Since I was moving over there, also when I just arrived in that small town in Papua New Guinea, since I moved with the people who belonged to me, there was nothing strange happening, nothing going on. I was a respected visitor, and I could just go with them, and they introduced me to people, and it was really like a tribal thing, man.
Basically, just as long as you're cool, people will be cool with you. Yeah.
And you can really trust in that, man. If you trust the environment, if you give the environment a good first, usually a good comes back, and otherwise it's much easier to see his bad as his problem.
Right. Okay. Second question. If you were talking to someone who's also thinking about, traveling the world and having like wild adventures, what's the one piece of advice that you would give that person? Like if you're,
to do this, to make a move like this.
Yeah. Well, the first one would probably be, go for it, obviously.
Yeah, because it's to start off with, it's not for everybody. I mean, it's not the paradise life, the solution to everything kind of step to do. That's definitely not true, because the life continues, and also so all parts of life will come on a daily basis to you. But to have trust. I mean, everybody's different. So some people, you will just do this to jump yourself, to jump in the deep, and everybody will do it in his way and have his talents to share. And what I saw a lot is the moment that I'm able to share something of me for them, to make them happy, that a lot of stuff happens in a positive way. Then they create stuff for me to be happy as well. And since I'm a guest, they want to protect me and take care of me. So that's just a nice thing to start. There's nice people all over the place.
just be a good dude, basically.
Yeah, man. Just calm the fuck down. Yeah. Just be cool. Just be cool and help the people, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the best thing you can do is really just, add some value to someone else's life, or just like be a good person. Like it's like, even if you do like little things,
man.
I don't know, like whatever.
And you can be of valuable help sometimes, because you have a different point of view.
Yeah, of course.
You're different than them, so then, yeah.
But it results in, like, just being like that results in a lot of good things coming your way too, indirectly usually. So it's,
Yeah, man.
But you basically, you can even look at it in a selfish way. Like if you do it, you'll just create a lot more opportunity and for yourself. Yeah. So yeah, just be a good dude too,
This is maybe what they have a name for that. This is maybe what they call karma.
Yeah.
Just if it's a mirror, man. It comes back. Whatever you put in there.
It's like a boomerang.
Yeah. Definitely. Right. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Be a good dude. And
be happy.
In what way would you say it's not for everybody? Like, why?
That's just to take care of that. I don't think I have the solution to life. I just decide to explore.
Right.
So, so it's not neither a good or a bad thing. It can be a really interesting thing to do if you like to do that. If it comes from inside you and you have questions or you're
Right.
inspired to do something. That
Yeah,
really-
so also just don't do it just because it's kind of the hip thing to do to travel, I guess.
yeah. That's true, man.
So just only do it if you really want it, and realize that it's not always going to be easy.
Yeah,
It's not always going to be fun. I
Mhm.
mean, like
that's the life.
yeah, but
Right.
it will be an adventure. That's the one thing that's for sure. And some people I talk to have had like shitty experiences, but I'm pretty sure they learned something from it. you
Yeah,
know?
man.
Yeah.
And if you have the consciousness of your mind to be able to do it for the reason of the travel, and not for the reason of finding yourself, not for the reason of to decide what to do when you're back or when I'm back.
Right.
Just do it for the sake of the travel.
Yeah, that's another funny thing. Like yes, traveling changes you, and yes, going on a very long trip definitely will have a major impact on you. Yeah,
Impact.
for sure. But I think a lot of people also go into it with, all right, I'm gonna go on this trip, I'm gonna travel around, and when I get back, I have found myself.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm just gonna go to this country and look at the mountain,
Yes, exactly.
and then I'll open my third eye. Then I'll understand everything, you know.
And then you
That's-
find yourself there, and the next week something happens which is new, and then you feel disappointment again, and then you're like, fuck, I shouldn't feel this disappointment, so now I'm not
because I
there.
found myself, man.
Exactly.
Like,
And then you become in this discussion because the life continues,
right,
the life goes on, and can take you from a throne like that.
right.
But
Yeah.
you can
just
learn so much.
go in without having like a final goal in mind, you know.
Mhm.
Basically, that's what you're saying, right?
Basically,
Yeah.
it's hard to do because that's
Just
a
be in the moment.
habit pattern of me as well, of the human. But to feel like the path is more important than the destination.
Right,
Just to walk that because of walking it. Because
right.
that's where we are right now. I have to do
It's-
this, man.
It's about the journey.
Yeah.
It's about the journey, man.
That's it.
No, but it's true, dude. Yeah. What are some essentials for your travel personally? Like, what's the one thing you couldn't live without in your backpack?
Yeah. This trip, I learned a lot during my previous trip.
Yeah, probably took way too much. Yeah.
But that in the first place, and in the second place, that I felt inspired to work with photography and music, and I became more like a child, inventing new stuff. And that way of being, I enjoyed very much. So for this travel, I'm a bit older now. When I depart, I take stuff with me where I find it very cool to play with. So this is why it's an artistic trip too, if you can
Right.
call it that way. I mean, yeah, we're gonna fucking make some music and make some badass pictures and
Harvest some
be
crops.
with that. Be with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, your camera. You got your camera now with you. The new Fuji. What is it?
man. It's a Fujifilm X-T2.
Okay.
So the older one is the X-T1, and that's been. How do you call that in English? A systeemcamera. We say.
That's
It's a
mirrorless.
digital camera, mirrorless,
Yeah.
digital camera, and with changeable lenses and. Okay.
yeah, but it doesn't have. It's not a DSLR. It doesn't have a mirror. So you
No.
you look.
It's smaller.
Yeah.
It doesn't click, so it doesn't move. Yeah.
Yeah. But the only thing I mean, that's the reason why it's so small. Like the one thing it cannot do is just that you look directly through the lens. You know.
It's true. It's true.
But you
It's
know,
software doing that.
for traveling, it's great because
Yeah.
they're small and the
Yeah.
quality is great. And,
Yeah.
you know,
You can
so-
find amazing lenses for them too.
Yeah.
For this is really, for me, good because I make mostly pictures at night.
Mm.
In the nighttime where there's low light and maybe elements moving in the picture and this tension. And for that, I found this camera very, very having nice results in that. So that's cool, man. I have some new toys. And that's because I got really lucky. One of the things that I was living in a house in Rotterdam, and somebody bought that house. So I was not and he wanted me to move, basically.
So you were renting it.
Yeah, I was renting it, and there became a new owner of the house. And this owner wanted me to move so he could rebuild the whole place and then sell it for a higher price. That was his business. That was what he was doing. And so then suddenly I was in the position of a person who needs to be removed. And in the Netherlands, I mean, if you're a bit like taking it easy, like making sure that you keep your legs stiff, if you will, then you can have some negotiation going on. And in this negotiation, I could make like €8,000.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like here in the Netherlands, you cannot just kick some people out of your house, even if it's your house.
Yeah.
Like if you rent a place, you get a whole lot of rights, and it's almost impossible to get. You gotta be big asshole to get thrown out of a rental property. Yeah. So this guy, even though you were renting it from him, he had to buy you out, basically, and he did for $8,000.
That's insane, huh?
Yeah. So
that's
that's a nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice. So I'm able to buy some stuff, some nice camera with some lens, or by earning some nice guitar and the amplifier, and now having nice toys. Man, I won't be bored. I won't be bored.
Cool. Well, so one more time, Marnix Photography.
MarnixPhotography.com
and Facebook, maybe soon on other platforms as well.
We'll see.
Yeah, well,
I'm curious to what you think of it. Like, I'm making the picture. Like, in every picture, there's a certain story. You are in a certain position, sometimes laying down on the floor, moving some pieces of grass away, or sometimes holding it very high. I mean, you do something to create that picture. And basically follow an idea, an image I have in my head to create from that what's possible with light and movement. And so this is the world behind it. I mean, this is how I experience these photographs. But I'm interested also, if you're able or you can put it on the words, what you feel or experience or see when you see a photograph like that, or let that image sink in a bit. I find that interesting. What it does to people. What is it?
Yeah, photography is great. It's capturing a moment, so to speak. Yeah. It's a great art form. I love it too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's about time we wrap it up. We went over 2 hours.
Nice.
Is there one something else you want to plug or something you want to say or whatever to all the billions of listeners?
Hello, billions of listeners. No, basically, you and me, Dick, you're a good friend of me. We just sat down and went through a lot of stuff and had some interaction going on, and we're just sitting here around the birds and everything goes peaceful. And I think we understood quite some things today.
Yeah.
Like about each other, about life, about my plans, about
deep stuff, man.
Yeah, we touched some things. Yeah. So I feel good with what happened today, man. It's fucking sunny now.
Yeah, it's the sun, and the sun's breaking through the clouds, and we're watching some rich people sitting on their boats. That looks nice out there too, man.
Could almost swim, man.
Yeah.
You could
but there's like this poisonous, weed in the water now.
That shit.
Yeah. It does look nice though.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, dude. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and having a chat and record it. It was fun. It was fun,
Thanks,
dude.
Man. Yeah. We met each other a bit. We spoke about something. It's nice, man.
Yeah.
It's nice. That's also a kind of photograph. It's there.
Kind of, in a way, yeah.
Beautiful.
Good times.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you much, Dick.
All right, dude.
See you.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and see you next time. Tot ziens.
You've been listening to the Polarizer podcast. Check the show notes for links and details on literally everything that was discussed and mentioned during the show. Subscribe to this podcast for free on iTunes or your other favorite podcast directory to never miss an episode. And be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review. Visit thepolarizer.com for high-quality articles on making life an adventure, traveling the world, being the best you can be, and other topics that fuel the fire in your soul. That's thepolarizer.com. One word, including the. Thank you for listening, and thanks for telling a friend. It really makes all the difference.